I'd just like to say sorry for the focus in this one. Let's make it so you can see my beautiful face. Sorry for the focus in this one. I left it on manual focus for the whole thing. But you'll get the idea. Good morning and welcome to Bread Diary Day 2. Today I'm framed so you can see my guitar, so you know I'm a cool guy. The dough's been in the fridge overnight, rising, so it'll be nice and tasty and developed. And now all we need to do is shape it into some loaves, and then wait a while for it to rise, and then cook it in an oven. So let's get on with that. Long loaf, a petard or a bloomer. We'll be calling them Roundy and Longy. First thing to do is make sure that the loaves are going to stick. In the risy bowl things, which I've forgotten the name of. What are they called? A little bit of flour sprinkled in will mean the loaves come out nicely and have the side effect of making a nice pattern of lines of flour. I normally use wholemeal rye flour for this. For some reason it seems to work better than anything else I've tried, and it looks attractive on the finished loaf. So let's shape a roundy loaf first. I've already floured the surface just by lining the balls over it, but there's a little bit more. That is, in all likelihood, slightly more than we need. But we'll find out, won't we? So this is destined to be our round loaf. Scoop. Bonk. Shaping a loaf is all about getting the gluten structure lined up the right way. Gluten is a network of proteins. It's two proteins, I can't remember the name of them. That's why kneading develops it. It helps that come together. Because if it was just one protein that was released, you wouldn't need to do much with it. And one of the proteins is relatively long and will stretch along its length, and the other is relatively short and doesn't stretch at all. The short one connects the long pieces. So gluten wants to stretch in once you stretch gluten in one direction, those long pieces tend to line up. So when you make a round loaf by taking a corner, pulling it into the middle, taking a corner, pulling it into the middle. Actually, we're going to need a little more flour. Taking a corner, pulling it into the middle, trying to be fairly gentle, because if you're rough-handed with it, you'll tend to knock out all the air. And sourdough rises slowly. So there, as you do that, you're arranging the gluten structure so it's curved round, and that gives you a little bit of help in the dough staying in a round shape. I'm using a little more flour than I normally would just because I want this to go quickly and smoothly. Bubble there, I think. Oop. Yeah. Once you've gone around pulling it into the centre like that for a bit, you've got something that Jen wants to stay vaguely round. Flip it. And turn and tuck. You're lifting, you're squeezing it together a little at the bottom, and that gives you a nice little wobbly ball of dough. Pop that in your tray, in your thingy here. And this is a neat little tip. It's a thing called stitching. Where you pinch some dough, either side of where it all comes together at the bottom. You pull it up, you fold it over, you stick it together. I tend to do that with round loaves from 4 directions. It does square it off a tiny bit, but never noticeably in the final result, and it just helps it, because this is going to be rising in this bowl for at least 3 hours. It's got lots of time to gradually spread, and anything you do that helps the structure stay together helps you get a nicer shape on your final loaf. So there we go, we've shaped a round loaf. Cover that so it doesn't dry out too much, and away it goes to the back of frame. Now our long loaf. Need a little more flour for that. This table is a bit more sticky as well than my kitchen counter that I'd normally use for making bread, but I can get a better shot here, apart from the lighting. So, yeah, I'm going to need a little bit more flour. It's just the textured surface of the table lets it stick more, I think. So, we're going to make a tight little parcel of dough. And we do that by picking it up at either end, stretching it out. Look how stretchy it is. Fold that over. Turn it round. At 90 degrees. Pop. Fold it over. Get the corners. Again, what we're doing is we're lining up the gluten structure, pulling it out so it all, instead of being jumbled, lines up more. Then we're folding it around to make it a tight parcel that wants to rise like that rather than just boo. Now, if you do this really well, you end up with a sort of square of dough. I have not done it very well, but this will do. Take the corners, fold them down. I've seen lots of ways of describing how this is done, how that's done. Like making a paper aeroplane is the one that stuck with me. And then take that point you formed, roll it, roll, roll, roll. And now roll the loaf. A little bit more pressure at the ends to make that a bit skinnier. Now, compare that to the length of this. That seems about right. Flip it over, in it goes. And this, in my experience anyway, makes more of a difference here than with the round loaf. Stitching time. Again, pinch, squink, pinch, pinch. I've seen videos of better bakers doing this, and they do it in these neat little confident motions where it just sticks. Whereas I go, stay together, and there we go. See how once it's formed and stitched, it's happy to come away from the sides. It's barely touching them because it's so good. But there we go, covered. And those will rise out of the fridge anything from 3 to 5 hours. There's a bit of an art to deciding when sourdough is ready to go, ready to be cooked, and I'm not great at it because, tell you what, So there's a bit of an art to telling when sourdough is ready, because, well, with all bread there's a bit of an art. There's rules of thumbs like doubled in size and so on. They're not perfect. With sourdough they're even worse, because sourdough, if it's doubled in size, it's probably over-risen. I understand that to be because the cell walls, not the walls of the pockets of air within the dough are thicker than they would be in a more quickly risen loaf. So there's simply not as much room for air. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. That also results in, I'm waffling a little now. That also is why sourdough gets such great oven spring, which is the rise of the loaf after it goes in the oven, because the cell walls are so thick and strong that they can expand more before they start to lose air. So sourdough often goes in the oven looking not very risen compared to a regular loaf, and then poof. Right, well, I'll check in on those in a couple of hours, and once it looks like they'll be ready in a while, once it looks like they'll be ready in the time it takes the oven to heat, I'll do a little video about how I set up my oven. Alright, bye for now.